104.5 The Team, your home for New York Yankees baseball. And thanks to our friends at Techie's Fire and Water Restoration. Olney, Buster, the Manny Machado deal is done. He's a Dodger, and all of Gaza's hopes and dreams have gone away. What did you think of the trade?
I thought it was fine, and look, I don't pretend to know the prospects the way that baseball evaluators know them, but in talking with baseball evaluators, I'm kind of getting back, it was okay. They feel like Diaz is a good prospect, the primary guy the Orioles got back in that deal. He's unlike a lot of his peers playing baseball now in that he actually makes contact on a regular basis, more walks and strikeouts. My question with Gauze about this deal is, if you're the Orioles, you don't have a hard time getting outfielders who are productive, right?
Right.
Because we know the free agent market the last couple of years, there's always guys at the end of the winter, like a Nelson Cruz, who's sitting out there dying for a job. And if I was the Orioles, I'd be focusing on either a pitcher or an infielder to be the centerpiece of the trade. And I'm surprised that didn't happen. What do you think?
I'm surprised, too. I thought they might have looked towards a team like the Braves or the Phillies. The Braves building through their farm system. The Phillies so bad for so many years that maybe that was going to be the team in the National League. I think you and I, and maybe Levack was on this call as well a few weeks ago, there was some nervous energy, though, around the Machado deal because, as you had touched on, there were so many third basemen. Maybe this was the best-case scenario before things started to get bad for them when they had to compete with other teams at third baseman.
No, I don't think that necessarily, and I do think like that's an impact for the Kansas City Royals who have Moustakas, because all of a sudden there's one less team on the board, potentially in that. I think those guys would be affected. With Machado, he's far and away the best player available, and I'm a little bit surprised, and I know this is what some evaluators told me too, that in the end the deal wasn't a little better, at least the secondary players, because what I've heard basically is there's Diaz and then there's a bunch of guys. Mm-hmm. And so I wonder, if they had waited longer and just told teams, look, we want player X, your shortstop, your stud shortstop in the minors. We want your stud pitching prospect. And they had time to wait, and they didn't. And maybe, they felt like, we don't want to take on the risk of what happens if he gets hurt, what happens if unforeseen circumstances happen, whatever it is. But they make the move now. And again, no one has told me it's a terrible deal. They're kind of like, it was okay.
Buster, there were rumors that Justice Sheffield was, in fact, on the table. Are you a little bit shocked Manny Machado's not a Yankee?
No, I think in the end, and we touched on this before, there were always doubts about whether or not the Orioles would necessarily deal with the Yankees. And I still have my doubts. I think the same thing holds true when you're talking about the Mets and the Yankees. There are those rivalries, Giants Athletics, where the teams just have a difficult time making trades. And I think that that the Yankees were always going to swim upstream against that reality.
Let's go back to Monday. You were a part of the Home Run Derby at Nationals Park. Take us through it. What was it like being there watching Bryce Harper win the Home Run Derby at his home park?
It was really neat. Look, he absolutely invested himself in the event. 2 hours before we got started, my colleague Jessica Mendoza went down on the runway, and she was watching Bryce's dad, Ron, throw to him, and she said it was intense, like 30 minutes of instruction and observations and getting ready. And a lot of the other players were, they were having fun with each other on the field, and Rhys Hoskins and Schwarber became best buddies during the course of the thing. Bryce would emerge from the runway when it was his turn. He wasn't going to be standing around joking around with the guys he was trying to beat on that thing. Now, just so you guys know, behind the scenes in the runway, he and Carl Schwarber had great conversations, but on the field, man, he was like a professional wrestler. And to see the emotion in that last minute as he got going and the way the fans responded to him and the way Bryce responded, 9 home runs in his last 10 swings, that was pretty cool. Like that whole thing, and you got a reminder in that last minute. We talk about a lot of hitters having ability, and we saw it that night with Schwarber and with Hoskins and other guys. But when Bryce turned it on, you're like, wow, okay. Now we know why we've always thought him as being Bryce Harper. That was a show that he put on.
All right, Buster, let me be clear about this. You're our dude. We love you. This Bryce Harper character, did he big league you at the end? Did he try to avoid your interview? Because I will drive to Washington.
No, it was totally fine. No, here's the thing on that, and I believe me, it's the last. You guys know me well enough to know I would never want to become any sort of a distraction or be a part of it or intercede on anything that was going on. They actually decided in the last minute to have Max Scherzer give Bryce the trophy, okay? But I think that they sort of envisioned it as Bryce wins the home run derby, everybody claps, and then here's Max stately, brings the trophy over to him. Well, that's not how it played out, as you guys saw. Like, Max jumps he jumps the gun, runs out there with the trophy, becomes the Stanley Cup. They're going crazy on it. I got the producers in my ear yelling, get in there, because they're trying to get to the interview as quickly as possible. The MLB handlers on the field, one of them was saying, get out of there. And so you had two sets of people screaming at me to do opposite things. And so then I go to talk to Bryce, and I start the interview because they have it on the big screen there. And then my producer in the truck is saying, you have to reset. Buster, he's screaming at me to reset the interview. So then we have to start over, and you're trying to capture the emotion. And I hope that what came across was that Bryce Harper had a great time, and it was a great experience with his dad.
I think it did. It definitely did, Buster. Bryce Harper, you could make the argument he was the star of the All-Star Week. But also your coworker, Tim Kirkjian, was a star in the celebrity softball game. Buster, when are we going to get you out there to play? Kirkjian's out there swinging away. We want Buster only in the softball game next year.
Man, I could feel good about this. And Tim and I have been friends for almost 30 years. I got a good shot to perform better than he does in the box. Right? He went 0 for 2, and I had him on a live podcast the other day. I'm like, first off, Tim, when I saw the pictures being sent out by Allison Footer of MLB.com, really, batting practice? You're taking batting practice before slow pitch softball, and then you go 0 for 2? Now, in fairness, Tim, he actually hit the ball hard. He was into it. It was pretty cool. It was fun. That's one of the reasons why they have Tim in there, because he's going to have fun with a moment like that.
Buster Olney, brought to you by Techie's Fire and Water Restoration. All right, back to work now, Buster. So, Manny Machado, the trade piece is off the table. I know you wrote an article for ESPN.com. Yankee fans are sitting here going, okay, how about us? What do you see maybe falling our way?
A lot of uninspiring options. Look, I think part of the reason why they went after Manny, and I think we talked about this last week, was and they were fully engaged in those conversations and hoping it would go that way, is because they've looked at the starting pitching market, and it's a lot of especially, this is Jay Happ, who I think 6 weeks ago I thought for sure he was probably somebody who would be a natural fit for the Yankees. He hasn't performed as well, and as we've talked about in past years, this is the one time a year when small sample size means everything. And so I'll just give you the list. I'm actually writing about this for tomorrow, the names that are possibly available in the starting pitching market. And this is what you're looking at if you're Brian Cashman and your attempt to get Manny Machado didn't work out. There's Jay Happ. There's James Shields. There's Marco Estrada, maybe, if he's healthy. Lance Lynn. Matt Harvey is going to be made available by the Reds, but I think you guys would agree with me. The Yankees are probably not going to be involved in that. Francisco Liriano, Zach Wheeler, Chris Tillman. Believe it or not, the hottest guy in the trade market for starting pitching is Nathan Eovaldi, former Yankee. Throwing the ball great for the Tampa Bay Rays, but that all summed up. There's no Bumgarner. There's no DeGrom out there, and it's part of the reason why I think the Mets are out of their minds not to be seriously exploring the market for DeGrom, because it's such a soft starting pitching market. You put a DeGrom out there, you're going to get a haul.
So there's no way you see DeGrom getting pried away from the Mets?
By the Yankees? No, I just don't think so. I think that you're always going to have a situation like with the Orioles where the Mets are not going to trade DeGrom. Plus, I think generally speaking, I don't think the Mets front office has the guts to trade DeGrom. So what do you think the odds are they would trade him to the Yankees?
Right. Well, but all right, Buster, I know you love when I get a little crazy in here. Marcus Stroman makes the comments of the team being terrible. He instantly apologizes, but is that the kind of thing that maybe starts a little inner strife and maybe he could become available?
First off, he could, but I don't think the Blue Jays would sell him now because he's thrown terribly this year, and his value in the marketplace has plummeted. His performance has not been nearly as good. So if you're the Blue Jays, if you sell on Marcus Stroman right now, you are selling low, and I don't think they would do that.
Buster Olney with us next to Techies Fire and Water Restoration. Big moves you're looking for and any kind of reset you want to make as we get ready for the second half of the Major League Baseball season.
Well, I'm feeling better and better about my pick for the Indians to win the World Series. I can tell you that for a couple of reasons. You saw the deal they made today for Brad Hand, who helps out their bullpen this year at the back end and helps them out for next year. But you think about what's in front of the Indians now. They got a massive lead in the worst division of baseball, 7.5 games. And as the Red Sox and Yankees are, in the corner beating each other up, and the Mariners and the Astros are in the other corner beating each other up, here the Indians just float along through August and through September. And Corey Kluber, you need an extra day for rest? Sure, no problem. Francisco Lindor, you look like you're not running right. You know what? Take a couple days off. The bullpen, they get them all prepared. And in a short series, in which you can run out a healthy Corey Kluber, because he wasn't healthy when they faced the Yankees in the postseason last year, Trevor Bauer, an all-star, Carlos Carrasco. I think they're going to augment. They'll get a right-handed hitting outfielder, maybe someone like Adam Jones of the Baltimore Orioles. With an improved bullpen, that is a dangerous team. And here's something else to remember. In the waiver claiming process, which starts in August, and, of course, the worst team, the teams with the worst the records that aren't as good, choose first. The Indians are going to be in front of the Red Sox, the Yankees, the Astros, the Mariners, and Oakland. They're going to get the first shot at everybody. So there's a lot. If you look at this like a weather forecast, I'm telling you, Indians, a team to watch.
You ever feel like calling up here 104.5 the team and saying something that makes me happy, Buster, or do you just enjoy do you enjoy this?
Oh, well, I figured that wouldn't make you happy. I thought you'd come back and be, yeah, what happened to the Indians last year, stiff?
Well, I mean, I hope to do that when it happens again, but I'm not willing to tempt fate enough to start challenging you yet.
Let me tell you, well, you should be. I think, well, actually, I picked the Cubs to win the World Series in 2016. Last year, I picked the Indians. This year, if they win, given all the superpowers in the American League, I might do a victory lap on you.
Well, last year I took Nationals over Yankees. This year I took Yankees over Nationals. And then this Manny Machado deal, so I might have to. The Dodgers might have to steal my pick there. So
yeah, don't ask me about my National League pick this year, the National. So.
Buster Olney, man, we appreciate this. You're going to be at the Subway Series?
Yes, actually in Chicago as we speak today. We open up the second half tonight. Cubs and Cardinals broadcast, and then flying home tomorrow, and we'll be at the Subway Series on Saturday and Sunday. All
right, well, I'll be there Saturday. Maybe you can sneak off, and I'll buy you an ice-cold soda pop because I know you're too professional to have a beer.
I know where they have the jail cell, where they keep all the folks down there who they grab from running onto the field. That I'll look for you.
If I don't have great seats. If I end up on the field, there'll be no running. Buster, man, we appreciate you as always. Thanks.
See you guys.